Hello student, today I will discuss about the United Nations. I'll explain you regarding the aims and principles, organs, composition, functions, why there was a need of United Nations to the world, we people, why we need the United Nation, that I will explain to you. So very first line that describe in your chapter, that is the world witnessed two devastating wars in the 20th century. We have seen we had two world war, one in 1914 till 1918, and the second it happened in 1939, and it had a great devastating effect in our world. All over the people were affected due to this world war. So for that reason, people tried to sort out a organization which would help to make a peace. So millions of people were killed, wounded, maimed, crippled, and rendered homeless. The horror and tragedy of the First World War led to a universal desire for peace. So these kind of a tragedy and the a kind of a devastating effect when people suffered, so then they realized and felt that war is not a solution, but to have a happy life there should be peace in a life. So it was felt that some international organization should be created to prevent future war. So then it was also some important countries, the prominent countries came forward, and they kept the proposal that there should be a international organization. We are not talking about any one country, but an international that would guide to all the country, all the states of the world. So out of this desire was born the League of Nation. So this word League of Nation, this is a new thing for you. So first, before United Nation, this League of Nation was made or composed to check the war problem. The primary aim of the League of Nations was to preserve peace and promote international cooperation. So what duty was given to the League of Nations? To maintain peace and promote international cooperation. So that means a kind of a friendly environment within the country, among the countries of the world. The League of Nations fails to maintain peace, and the Second World War broke out in 1939 and continued till 1945. But what happened? Whatever the setup was made under the League of Nations, they were not able to stop the Second World War. Even after the First World War, we had a lots of such a drawback. We suffered such a negative effect. But then also the people and the League of Nations could not just stop this Second World War. Then the outbreak of the Second World War revealed to the world the weaknesses of the League of Nations. So then the people realized, the country realized that there were weaknesses in the League of Nations, that they could not they could not stop the outbreak of the Second World War. It was felt that much a stronger international organization should be created if the world was to have peace. So then they thought to make another organization to make a change and have a peace in the world. Discuss now about the Atlantic Charter. So even before the end of the war in August 1941, that means when the war was going on, Second World War, US President Franklin Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill met on battleship the Cruiser in the mid-Atlantic and drew up the Atlantic Charter, which was released on 14 August 1941. So here the two important name, one is the British Prime Minister, all right, and one is the US President. So these two important people of the two important country, they met and they decided to have a charter, a guideline in order to follow, so that we may get some solution out of this war. So then you can see the charter had the following objectives. So one objective, certain objectives are made under the charter so that the country will follow and to get the peace in the world. Number one is what? To maintain the international peace and security. So first objective of this Atlantic Charter was what? To get the peace and security in the world. Number two, to encourage international cooperation in the sphere of social, economic, and cultural development. So the second point, the second objective that the United Charter has to achieve is that in over all the field, not only in the development of other process in the warfare, but also in the social, economic, that is your economic value, that just like the standard of living, cultural development. So all the countries should have a proper development in their own sphere, and that is what, to help each other. Number three, to develop friendly relations among the nations on the principle of equal rights and self-determination. So again, the third objective of the Atlantic Charter is what? To have a friendly relations within, among the country, among the nation, so that they can have a equal rights and self-determination. We will give a dignity and respect to each other. Number four, to recognize the fundamental rights of all the people. So the basic right has to be given to all the people of the world. Next is the United Nations Declaration of the Washington Declaration. On 1st January 1942, representative of 26 allied countries met in the Washington and signed a declaration of United Nations. Allied, these are where the countries who were these were the countries who were the participants of the war. So they met in Washington and they signed a declaration of United Nations. So now we are at the position to sow the seed for the United Nations. The upcoming for the United Nations, these countries agreed to have the United Nations. The signatory endorsed the principle of Atlantic Charter. So whatever Atlantic Charter we have just read about the objectives, so all those principles were included in this kind of a proposal. This was the first time that the term United Nations was used. So when these 26 allied countries, when they got together, first time they used the word United Nations. United, you can understand, so all together who? All the nations. Then your next paragraph also deal the United Charter finally emerged after three major conferences. So there were three conferences held in one in 1944 and two in 1945. The first was in the Dumbarton Oaks Conference, the second in Yalta Conference 1945, and third the San Francisco Conference in 1945. So at the Declaration of Oak Conference, the representative of four major powers. So first conference when this kind of a proposal was made, to four important countries were there. They were the Britain, United States, that is America, Soviet Union, which is now known as Russia, and China, agreed on the proposal for the aim, structure and functioning of the United Nations. So here please remember France is not here. So now these four important countries, they just structured, they made the guideline regarding the functioning of United Nations, that how this United Nations will work for the countries. They voted for an assembly, a security council, a secretariat, and international court. So they started making a plan how, on what guideline, what structure, what framework will be there in the United Nations. What are the bodies which will be the working under the United Nations. The Yalta Conference decided on the voting procedure to be followed by the Security Council. So in the Yalta Conference, all the members, they together decided that there should be Security Council and the voting procedure should be applied, so that we can come to the decision as we follow in the Parliament House of India. Membership of the United Nations was to be open to all the peace-loving states. One thing is very good here, that it was open to all those whichever country, those who believe in the peace in the life, so they can become the member. So it was open to all the countries of the world to be the members of the United Nations. Representative of 50 nations met at San Francisco to sign the Atlantic Charter. So in the San Francisco, which happened in 19 at time, 50 nations were the member of this United Nations, and the last, that was Poland, 51 member as a time up to this 1945 under the San Francisco Conference. The United Nations officially came into existence on 24 October 1945. So you must be knowing about this important date when we celebrate as United Nations Day, because it was officially, it was dignified. The charter had been ratified by 5 big power, that is now in the limelight. 5 important countries, powerful countries were there. The prominent members of the United Nations, that was number 1 Britain, number 2 China, number 3 France, Soviet Union, that is Russia, and the 4th was United Nations, that is your America, by a majority of the other signatories. The 24th October is celebrated as the United Nations Day. Today the organization has 192 members. So up to today we have total 192 members, which started earlier from 26 to now it has come to 152 members. Headquarters of the United Nations is located in New York, USA. This is the important location, the central point where all the activities are being just controlled, that is the headquarters. The organization has 6 official languages. So 6 important languages were just made, which was called official language under the UN, that is your English, French, Spanish, Russian, Chinese and Arabic. Its flag bears its emblem, a map of the world encircled by 2 bent olive branches. So when you see the emblem, you will get to know what are the sign and the things are there in the emblem. Of the United Nations. The objective of the United Nations according to its charter, which we have just I have explained you about the charter. So accordingly the objectives were also made under the United Nations. So number 1 is what? To maintain international peace and security. This is the point, the function which the United Nations follow, that is what? International peace. So the peace not only within the country but among all over the countries in the world. Second is what, develop friendly relation among nation on the basis of equality and the principle of self-determination. So here we should not forget that all the countries are equal and all the people of all the country have the basic right. They are equal, whichever the country, the Indians are also as equal as American. So on the international ground, when you measure, so equality has to be set up in the mind, and the principle of self determination, that means we have to give the respect, the same kind of dignity to other nation people also. Third is your foster worldwide cooperation in solving economic, social, cultural, and humanitarian problem. So here it means that cooperation is needed everywhere, right from the family to the world. Where, as you see in the family, the cooperation is needed for the work, daily activity, as we help our parents. So for the world level also, if any country is suffering, so the other countries come forward to cooperate each other. Number four, promote human rights and fundamental freedom for the people of the world. So human rights are the basic human right, all are born free, so nobody should be the slave of anybody. So keeping in that mind, so we are always promoting the basic rights of the human. So such kind of a respect, the dignity has to be given to each individual, and that is your fundamental freedom for all the people of the world. So all should be free in the world. Number five, serve as a center where various nations can coordinate their activity towards the attainment of the objective of the United Nations. So of course United Nations will be the center where whatever the problems all over the world are there, so that can be deal here. So one, if we keep a common place, one center place, so that can work, and if when very effectively, it will take the steps to come out that problem, whether with the natural calamities or a world or a war type of situation. Number six, save succeeding generation from the scourge of war. So after having the two world war, always United Nations will try to just forbid the war, so that our coming generation may not face such kind of a war effect. Now let us come to know about the organs of the United Nations. The United Nations has six principal organs to carry out its function. As our human body have important organs like heart, kidney, and other organ, so the United Nations also have a six important organ which work. The first is your General Assembly. The number two is your Security Council. Third is your Economic and Social Council. Fourth is your Trusteeship Council. The fifth is your International Court of Justice, and the sixth is your the Secretariat. We will deal one by one all the important organs. General Assembly. The General Assembly is the largest organ of the UN. All members of the UN are the members of the General Assembly. So first organ we are going to discuss is the General Assembly. All the 192 members will be the members of the General Assembly. Each state can send up to 5 representatives, but is entitled to one vote in the assembly. So the country India is also the member of General Assembly. So one nation India will send the 5 representatives, but when the voting will be done, the India will be voting only one. Out of 5 people, only one vote will be given by. So this is called what? One nation, one vote. This ensures that all the members have equal status. The General Assembly meets once a year for the 3 months. So the meeting is done once in a year, but it continues for 3 months. But special session may be held during the time of crisis. So as we have a corona time, so the General Assembly can meet if it's a need. They can have a special session. At the beginning of every session, the Assembly elects a new president. So with the coming of a new session, there is an election done in which the Assembly elect among the own member, they elect the president. Now comes to the function of the General Assemblies are as follows. There are certain 8 functions. We will deal one by one. Number 1, it can discuss any matter affecting to the international peace and security. So any kind of a matter which matters related to the peace and security will be discussed in the assembly, where all the nations member will be participating and they can keep their view. Number 2, it makes recommendation for peaceful settlement of dispute. Suppose any country, two countries having a not a good relationship, and they are ready to fight for each other. So then here in the UN, other country member also can try to give their suggestion to stop such kind of a aggression or a dispute. Number 3, it passes the budget of the UN. So the UN also need the money to sort out the problem, and for that the budget is needed. So here what happened, it passes the budget, the finances, or regarding the whatever the proposal is there regarding the budget, the money which has to be used. Number 4, it elects the non-permanent members of the Security Council. So Security Council have 15 member, which we will discuss later on also. So out of 15 member, 10 are non-permanent member. So General Assembly member, the member nation, the country, they will elect the non-permanent member. Number 5, it also elects the member of the Economic and Social Council and the Trusteeship Council. So here these common general member, so they elect for other organ member also, that is your Economic and Social Council and Trusteeship Council. Number 6, it admits new members to the UN on the recommendation of the Security Council. Suppose any other new nation wants to be the member of the United Nations, so Security Council will recommend, and here these country member will also just vote for, or they will admit, they will make that country as a member. Number 7, the Security Council and the General Assembly elects a member of the International Court of Justice. So here Security Council and the General Assembly together, they will elect the member for the International Court of Justice. Number 8, in recent year, the General Assembly has increased its power through resolution called Uniting for Peace Resolution. The General Assembly can make recommendation for collective measure, including the use of armed forces in the case of Security Council is unable to take a decision during a crisis. So sometime what happens, Security Council are unable to take decision, so the General Assembly take the decision and they come up with a certain tough decision regarding the arms and military affairs. We have seen how the General Assembly take the decision. Sometimes they used to have a majority vote in which the two-third vote matters to take a decision. So in the same way, Security Council also have certain setup. The Security Council is the most important effective organ of the UN. So very important, the heart of the body, we can say. So Security Council is the heart of the United Nations. It is the executive wing of the UN. Executive means all the important activities are being dealt over here. The Security Council consists of 15 members. 5 of them are the permanent member, namely Britain, China, France, Russia and the USA. These are the 5 permanent member, will never change their membership. They will remain always there in the UN members in the Security Council. But the 10 non-permanent members are elected by the General Assembly for a term of 2 years. So here there will be for 2 years, these 10 countries can be non-permanent member, but after 2 years maybe the other new country can be the non-permanent member. So that means that whatever the non-permanent members are there, that is the 10, so they will be there in the UN for the 2 years in the Security Council. Each member has one vote. Decisions are taken by the majority vote of at least 9 members, including the 5 permanent member. So 15 members are there in the Security Council, so 15 votes, but the 5 vote of the permanent member are very important. If any one of the negative vote is there, so the things has to be thought once again. The decisions may be penned, may be postponed or cancelled. So what happened here, majority vote if it is asked, then at least 9 votes should be for the active decision. Each permanent member has the power to reject or a veto decision. So out of 5 members, permanent member, if any one vote rejects, then there will be a veto decision. So this means a negative vote by any one of the permanent member would lead to a cancellation of the resolution. So whatever decision has to be taken, if any one of the permanent member deny or don't give the negative vote, then that decision will be cancelled. The council is powerless to act if there is such a veto by any permanent member, although it may be supported by all other permanent members. So though 4 are one side, but one negative vote may hamper the decision. The Security Council has a basic responsibility of maintaining peace and security in the world. So this is the main work which the council has to do. What is that? Peace and security. The Security Council meet once a month, but in the event of emergency, a meeting may be held whenever required. So they meet once a month regarding the safety of the world. They think and take the action regarding the prosperity of the world. Functions of the Security Council. So we will go with the functions. Number 1, to maintain international peace and security in the world. This is what I have explained. Number 2, to investigate international dispute and recommend appropriate method of settling them. Now to find out where in the world there is a dispute with among the nations, maybe the 2 neighbor country or whatever the problem regarding the border line, regarding the land area dispute or some other cause, so to find out what is the problem and to get the solution for such so that the environment or the humble kind of a nature among the country, that is a friendliness, should not be gone. Number 3, to call on member state to apply economic sanction against aggressor, thus to put pressure on the guilty state to stop aggression. So if the United Nations find that any one country has become aggressive, they are not ready to come to the point or settlement, so the United Nations can take action by by being strict to the decision, by making a pressure on the guilty state and stop aggression. Okay, then number 4 is the Security Council may take military action against the aggressor if required, even if that country is not working according to the United Nations and is becoming more aggressive, then Security Council may take the military action, use the armed forces to stop that nation. The International Court of Justice. International Court of Justice is located in The Hague, Netherlands. Is the principal judicial organ of the United Nations. So regarding the justice, another organ is that is the International Court of Justice. The court consists of 15 judges. So here the total number of judges is what? 15 from different countries elected by the General Assembly. So we know 192 members in the General Assembly. So among these 192 countries, 15 judges will be from these nations. But the thing is that from one country there will be no two judges from the same country. And the Security Council, they are elected for a 9-year. The term is for these judges are what? For 9 years they will be giving the justice. No two judges can be the citizen of the same country. Functions of International Court of Justice. Number 1, to settle dispute brought it by the member country or member nation. So if any nation is having a problem with the other one, they can bring that problem to the International Court of Justice. We had the example of India and Pakistan, some issues which went to the Court of Justice, International Court of Justice. Number 2, to provide the legal advice to any organ of the UN on request. So legal advice, if any organ, if the Secretariat or the Trusteeship Council, if any of the council is in the need of any advice, so this International Court of Justice can provide the advices to these organs. Trusteeship Council. The Trusteeship Council was set up immediately after the Second World War. It was set up to ensure the proper administration and development of those areas of the world that were under foreign rule. Try to understand. So all the colonies, like India was a colony of the Britain, so it was under the foreign rule. So according to this, the Trusteeship Council, this is the council which will take that after this kind of a foreign rule, are these countries having a proper development? Are they having a proper self-government or still being under command by any other country? So the council was also to take steps to help them attain self-government. So the council will help these countries to frame their constitution, have a setup of their government, and perform as the other developed countries are doing. So by 1994, all the trust territories had attained self-government. The council will now meet only if required to do so. So up to now, almost all the countries are free from any foreign rule. So now if again there will be the need of such Trusteeship Council meeting, so then they will meet. Otherwise, this is only the function of the Trusteeship Council. The Economic and Social Council. Economic and Social Council consists of how many members? 54 members elected by whom? General Assembly. So please remember, this Economic and Social Council is having 54 members and that also elected by General Assembly for 3-year term. Now the ECOSOC discusses major economic and social issues. So what they are going to tackle, that is your economic and social problem. It is mainly concerned with the management of the UN social, economic, cultural, humanitarian activities. Its main function are as follows. Some 3 functions are there. We will deal one by one. Number 1, to promote economic and social progress. So overall, to see that all the countries are on the path of development with the economic sphere, that is the all the countries are having a proper development. Number 2, to solve problem relating to the health, illiteracy, unemployment. These are the basic thing that all the country should provide to their citizen, that is the proper health, the education and the employment problem. So to sort out such kind of a problem. Number 3, to coordinate the functions of the agencies of the UN, like International Monetary Fund, that is IMF, the International Labour Organization, the Food and Agricultural Organization, that is FAO, the World Health Organization, WHO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, that is UNESCO, the United Nations International Children's Fund, that is UNICEF. So all these they should have a mutual kind of a functioning. They will organize, they will coordinate, they will manipulate and they will guideline these kind of agencies to work and get the goal. Secretariat. The Secretariat is the principal administrative department of the UN. It is headed by the Secretary General. So we have one Secretary General, one leader, appointed by whom? The General Assembly on the recommendation of Security Council. So Security Council will recommend the name and Secretary General will appoint it for a term of how many years? 5 years. He can be re-elected if he has worked properly. Second time also the person can be re-elected for the Secretary General. The staff of the Secretariat is appointed by the Secretary General. They are chosen from among 192 members, that is the General Assembly member. The Secretary General holds a key position in the administration of. So, Secretary General, they take the decision, and the person can be re-elected. He organizes, now what function he does? He organizes conference, oversees peacekeeping operation, draft reports on economic and social trend, prepares studies on human rights, mediates in international dispute, and prepare budget estimate. So what the speaker do in the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha, he is somewhat doing the same functioning for the United Nations in the Secretariat. India's support to the UN. We will discuss about how the role of India has been in the UN. India has been a founder member of the UN in 1953. Vijaya Lakshmi Pandit, you should remember this name, the Lady of India, became the first woman president of the United Nations General Assembly. So she was a very important person to play the role in the United Nations on behalf of India. India, number one. So I will discuss about some points under this. India has supported the freedom struggles in other countries, that is Indonesia, Bangladesh, Malaysia are the example in this respect. So India has been the sufferer, being the kind of a slave under the kind of a colony under the British. So India always supported what? Freedom. So India helped in to get the freedom to other countries also, that is your Indonesia and the neighbor country Bangladesh. Number two, India sent medical mission to Korea in 1950 and to the Gulf during the War of 1991. The part of UN peacekeeping force in Palestine, Cambodia and Congo. So wherever if there is a need of Indian army for making a peace, so for that purpose also India have been a prominent member country to help. India, next point, India has played an important role in the disarmament efforts of the UN. Disarmament, that means always going for that no weapons, no war. Her policy of non-alignment is a significant in this respect. So we understand the method of disarmament, that India don't believe in the kind of a armament. So peace, to have a peace in the world. Next point, India has strongly opposed the apartheid regime of South Africa. So we have seen the black and white difference in the South Africa. So always India supported for apartheid, that means no difference with the color complexion. Next point, India along with other nations voted in favor of resolution against Sri Lankan war against Tamil. So wherever there was such kind of a crisis in the internal affairs of the country with the Sri Lankan war crimes like Tamils and all, so in such kind of terrorist effect, India always supported the nation wherever there was a kind of a threat in the any particular country. The UN problems and prospect. Now we will deal how far how UN has been in successful. So it is wrong to assume that UN has been completely successful in eradicating war. So we cannot just come with one side that UN is set up and so there is no war all over the world. It's there one part or the other. There is still the kind of a problem. True, a world where war has been avoided, but war has not been completely eradicated. So it is understood, though we don't have such a major war-like situation, but we cannot completely. The UN has not been successful in eradicating the problem in Palestine or the somewhere in the other parts of the world. Though one or smaller scale, there have been many wars all over the world since 1945. So even after 1945, there has been small or a big kind of a pity war. So it happened and the UN were not able to control. The threat of the large scale war looms large before today's world. Many countries, including permanent members of the UN, possess nuclear bomb. So we cannot also deny that all the five permanent members, they are organized with the nuclear bombs. They have the nuclear bombs. So we cannot deny being the five permanent members in the UN. The UN body has failed to persuade these strong power to destroy the nuclear arm. So we cannot completely say that UN has been very successful in saying America to destroy their nuclear bombs or the China. So you can understand these powerful countries, when they will have the nuclear bombs, how can we accept that they are only with the belief that there will not be a war? Often the one powerful state themselves violate the principle of human rights. Next, it is to be noted that United Nations can be achieved success only if the member state cooperate with it. So if there are the rules, if there are the guideline, if the member country follow it properly, somehow or some part we can say yes, we are going to the correct path and the goal achievement. All member countries must abide by the policies and the programs of the United Nations if the latter is to succeed a peacekeeping organization. Thus, we only come to the conclusion if all the 192 members of the United Nations, if they follow the guideline that they should have peace in the world, so they have to destroy the weapons and all. Thank you to all my viewers who are watching my video and kindly like it.